is true. This is one of the truths for all of Amigos volunteers. There's a moment, and it's different for everyone, where all of a sudden it gets very, very real. Whether that's you're sitting in the airport waiting to get on a 5-hour flight to go to South America, or the night before when you're up late and you are just totally second guessing yourself on everything. Uh, well, Amigos is a nonprofit, non-religious volunteer organization. It allows high school and college-age youth to go down to Latin America and to live and work and serve in a community. Now, and you're going to be living in a host community that has been so generous to open up their homes and to open up not only their homes but also their hearts for you. I mean, really and truly, these people take you in and they take you under your wing. So,
I had a host sister. She was 8. Her name was Jenny. She was probably my best friend. She definitely felt like a sister by the time I left. She's who taught me the most about their life and their culture, and about Spanish also. We'd play card games before we went to bed, and she'd teach me little words that she could tell that I had struggled with during the day.
So one of the biggest parts of Paraguayan culture was this tea that they drink, and there's a bunch of different kinds of this certain tea. It's called mate, and you can drink it cold, you can drink it hot, you can drink it with milk, you can drink it with sugar. There's a lot of different ways. It's very open-ended, and honestly, it's one of the biggest features of typical rural Paraguayan life. Everyone drinks this tea. That's not an exaggeration. In my experience, everyone would wake up in the morning and they would make the hot version of this tea on these cold winter days, and then they would drink that, and then when it warmed up in the afternoon they would make the cold version, and then in the evening again they would make the hot version. Now the hot version is mate. That was my personal favorite, but it's funny, they drink it through a silver straw, like this silver metal straw. So you're drinking this boiling hot tea through this metal straw that gets piping hot. And honestly, for the first week, I was not, I was not expecting it to be that hot for some reason. I don't know, there was definitely some disconnect. All these stories I'd heard of people drinking mate and it being super hot. I never really factored in the metal straw part. So for the first week, I would say that my tongue and my lips were a little scorched, a little blistered, to be totally honest. And eventually they just kind of hardened up, and no problem by the end. But it's definitely an acquired taste.
Well, since Ecuador is also an indigenous country, they're primarily indigenous and Spanish is their second language. They also dress in indigenous attire, and we had a wedding, and they dressed me up in indigenous attire. There's probably 30 Ecuadorians in my room watching my host mom put on my ankle length skirt and sweater and this hat and a bunch of stuff, and then at the wedding.
I wouldn't say missing home was very challenging. I mean, that's something, you're so busy every day that you don't really think about it that much. But honestly, just adapting the first week, you feel like a fish out of water. There's no other way to put it. And that's something that takes some time to adapt to. By the end of my time in community, you feel like you're very well acclimated. You are a member of this community that you've lived in, you've served, and you've worked with. But at the beginning, it is this awkward kind of not so sure kind of feeling that comes about when you're not sure what your place is. You kind of keep quiet for a little bit, and eventually, you learn the ropes, essentially. And then you get out and you're able to be outgoing and meet people, but it just takes time for everyone. Yeah, were there plenty of times where I wasn't able to get my point across? I wouldn't say so. I mean, I think it's very easy to talk to someone, as it doesn't happen in a vacuum, your conversations. So for instance, the first night, I did not realize that I did not know the word for spoon until I was pointing at that tiny little silver thing across the table, asking what is this? KS. So lessons like that are something that were really valuable for me. That communication isn't totally verbal. There's plenty of nonverbal communication that goes on. And it's really easy to have a conversation with someone, not just happening through dialogue. So really, I learned the importance of nonverbal communication. And the other big thing that all Amigos volunteers will do are campamentos. And that's when you get to work with the cute little kids and you get to play games. And really, it's a pretty wide age range for the local youth that you get to work with, anywhere from 5 to up to maybe 16 or 17 years old. So that being said, you're able to do any number of things, talk about topics that the kids find interesting, or play games to talk about big topics like bullying or the environment or health and sanitation. So there's a lot of different lessons that kind of, I don't want to say could be taught, but there's a lot of good discussions that can be had. I would say that it does take a lot of soul searching. You have to think about why you want to do Amigos. Just because your friend did it, that doesn't make it, that's not a good reason. If you want to do something that's really life-changing and transformative, then you're going to be open to that. And that's something that everyone should take in mind before making the decision to apply. And you know what? If you're maybe on the fence about it, definitely look into it. And then, if a couple of weeks or a couple months go by and you're not really sure, then, you can back out if you don't think it's for you. But I would definitely encourage everyone who even thinks they'd be slightly interested, get out there, find more information, look into how you can get involved, and get ready to make a truly, truly life-changing experience.